All right. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Just give me a second. First show of the day. We had a day off yesterday. Had to take one. The energies were strong. I'm observing it out there in social media. Everybody's going through the same thing. Go easy on yourself. Go easy on each other. Got Susanne and Amara in the house. Be right back after we play the intro. How's it going, everybody? We got Susanne Amara. Susanne Amara's in the house. She was on a couple of weeks ago, and we had a great conversation, very real conversation, like we like to have on SOULSPEAKS 5D. And but she had come on with some other things that she wanted to cover, and it was such a powerful show. I said, look, let's just rebook a couple of weeks down the road. We were supposed to go on yesterday, but I took a day off, and from what I can tell, a lot of people were going through a lot of stuff. So, we're back up and running now. Let me get her up here. Let's see. Here we go. There you are. You good?
I'm good. Yeah,
What's
I dropped
happening?
out there. I don't know.
What's that?
I dropped out. I don't know.
You dropped out. Well,
Yeah.
you're here now. You look fabulous. You look fantastic. The energy of your place looks fantastic. So, we're going to pick up where we left off 2 weeks ago. Wow. How was your day yesterday? How was that? I had your show. Eve Alta was coming on. Who else was coming on? Anyway, and then I had something else planned for the evening with a couple of friends that have been the Pearson boys. And I just, I canceled every meeting, every show, and I hadn't done that in a year and a half. And from what I can tell, Martin McNichol, quite a few other people, big day. It's a big day.
Yeah, yesterday, it's been coming. When we had our conversation, I mean, when was it? 2 weeks ago? It feels like could have been like,
It was on the 8th, so
yeah,
that
it
was,
could have been like two millennia ago.
No kidding, right?
There's things so much have dropped away in 2 weeks. Like we have these conversations, yeah, and we're like doing this stuff, and then it's just like something that comes and takes you to another level.
Yeah.
And I mean, I might have a bit of tears today because I'm very, very deep in this energy, and it just is like being completely held. That the only way I can describe this is being held by God, Source.
Yeah.
And the source of what we are with everything, and the layers are just washing out. It's coming out of bones, skin, like things that you had forgotten for 40 years, just coming up and releasing, but being held in it, and all the time kind of phasing in and out. Like yesterday
Yeah.
I said that I was in the bath for like
I
2 hours.
remember
I
you
keep
told
having
me.
to go and get into
Oh,
water.
you didn't tell me. You didn't tell
It's
me you
all
were there
about
for
the water,
2 hours.
Todd. It's
Yeah.
crazy. That's what we're
Yeah.
going to talk about today. It's all about the
Yeah.
water. So I keep having
Yeah.
to go and lie in water, in salted water.
Wow.
And I'm doing like this water bathing, whatever this is. And I'm there for 1 minute and then I'm phasing out, and it's happening in cycles very strongly into nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere or doing anything to my
No.
knowledge. It's black, nothing. And
Yeah.
then coming back, and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be here. And
Yes.
it was like that a lot yesterday. And so I was quite glad that we had to postpone, because I was a little
You
bit
were.
worried that
Well,
I'd come on here and I'd kind of look like a dick, because I was going to like go, "Ugh."
yeah. But that. But I saw a lot of that, and even this morning, I got on this morning, and I noticed. I had a post I put up, and it was about the divine masculine. I saw it. Marco Lupori put it up last year, and it just happened to pop up in my field, and I knew there was something to it, so I put it on my page rather than the Soulspeaks group. And there was a couple of comments on there, and I thought, wow, there it is. This judgment, this comparison, this expectation, all these things, forgiveness, healing, these words that carry energy, that are consciousness, that are imprinted onto our being, are no longer sticking. So if we're not unsticking them, they're being unsticked. And I think this is that place you're talking about, where you find yourself just cradled in the arms of Father God, Mother Universe, and you're just like left with nothing. So this morning I saw Mark McNichol. He put up a post. I love his work. He said, man, I woke up and I think he said 6 in the morning or 4 in the morning. He said, I only got 4 hours of sleep. I felt great. And then he said, and then a couple hours went by, and he said, boom, he got hit. He said, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
it. Look.
right. I know I got one here. The body's very involved. I got my water, and I just want to give a shout out to Melina Ferguson. She sent me a soul signature that she made in. She does those essences, and I don't know if you've seen her labyrinth. She's got a portal where her and her family live, and they're living a 5D existence. The kids included. They're staying at home. Everybody's clued in. The husband. Anyway, she has this incredible labyrinth on her property. It's a portal, I think, that she's expanded, and so she puts the essences in the middle of the labyrinth, and then she does her thing. But
Yeah,
yeah, so
totally
I got
get
my
that.
water. I got my water infused with that. And just
Yeah,
keep
that's it.
chugging.
We're going to chat a bit about water, I think,
Yeah,
today. It's on the. It's a big thing. We sort of touched upon it, but it's integral in everything. It's just been
absolutely.
coming.
Yeah.
It's been coming like a freight train recently, but it's been with me since that. The very beginning time, when I thought that was my awakening time, but realised consequentially that I was probably awake, like we all have. We were never really asleep. We were just
No.
having an experience. So I've sort of come away from using that. But the pivotal one, where I went out of time and had this massive experience, at the end of that, there was this thing with water, and it's been on the back burner um, while I've been going through all the dark nights and the releasing and all that, the stuff that you go through. But now it's really front and center, and it's started to come through with some very strong awareness
Yeah.
of
Okay.
how important the water is for
Yeah.
us. So water's like we see it as like a sort of like this. We just see it as water, don't we? Like mostly, like because that's
Yeah.
how we're brought up. But
Yeah.
because we're liquid, we're water. And what it started with this thing called liquidine. And I was like, what's liquidine? It was going on forever. I kept going on into this light,
So
and it
this
just
was
felt like
this
I
was
was
in your
swimming.
communion. This was in your
Yeah,
communion, your meditation.
swimming in liquid. I'm just in the universe.
Yeah.
And at night time, when you go to bed, I kind of go, you like you and Morgan, and I just go into these different spaces and things happen. And it's just been like really liquidy. And the light lost its structure. So instead of being geometry, which is how it started out, it started to lose structure and go in like liquidy form. and colour, and I was feeling this in my whole body. And it just kept coming back, this word repeated and repeated, liquidine, liquidine. What
Liquidine.
is it? And it was like, this is the fourth state of water. This is the next state of water. I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm not a physicist. I'm not a scientist. I don't understand. But slowly, it's unfolding, and I'm starting to understand that our relationship, like all relationships that we've formed, the one with water is actually very distorted. And
Yeah.
of course, it translates to our physical body, because we are mostly water, and pretty much all of the physical functions and
Yeah.
physiological functions we have form in a way because of the structure of water. So water isn't just water, it's alive or it's dead.
Mm.
And it's mostly dead in the way that we use it. So
Yeah.
there's loads of stuff out there about revortexing and charging water, and this is all important. But the reason behind all of that stuff is because of the structure and how the molecular structure forms, and forms particularly around the genetic structure of our expression in the physical body. So we're in the positive, we can affect this, but
Yeah.
there's other things that affect it too. And a lot of that is the electromagnetic
Electric.
radiation. So we're
Yeah.
moving beyond that state. I feel what all these codes are about, and some of this energy that's coming in, it's related a lot to the cerebrospinal fluid. So they call it like the nectar, and it's like the nectar of our system. It hasn't really been functioning properly, so we've been losing all this energy. Everything's tied together, but
Yeah.
essentially the frequencies that we've got are really affecting our molecular structure of the water, and that's really gluing all of this stuff together between spirit and matter, because spirit energy needs to come into matter for us to express and realize, or to actualize. We spoke about it last time, to actualize spirit, otherwise what's the point?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
just dreaming and
Yeah.
off in the clouds. So we're going to actualize it, but to actualize it, we've got to move from this like system that's been loss based. So we age,
Mm-hmm.
we deteriorate, we get sick, the cells break down. And with structured water, when water becomes alive, when it becomes alive with a universal energy, properly and alive, then it doesn't deteriorate like that. It
Yeah.
becomes like a crystal, doesn't lose its structure. It keeps its structure. It's a brilliant data form. It's
Mm.
clean. It allows data to travel and information to travel. So this is what's coming in a way. And as I said, you know me. I'm not a scientist, but this is like the teachings that I'm receiving are mostly through code and energy and love.
Mm.
But that's what I'm feeling, and that code I shared, the temple code, was reawakening this knowledge from Lyra, where we actually did know that we did understand all of this, and we used it, and we kind of did it in Lemuria because we were inextricably connected to the oceans and to the
Yeah.
waters in a very sacred way. So
Yeah.
this is all about us reclaiming our sacred body. I feel, to reclaim the sacrament of the body, as a holy kind of temple
Yeah.
in a modern way. So we're actually going to live, rock it, and
Yeah.
live it.
As within, without, and like, and
Yeah,
you're right about that, because I think innately we know this about water. I mean, like, yes, you go back to yesterday, and I did my thing, whatever you want to call it. I don't really consider it dark night. I just, pulling everything into yourself and staying with yourself, because it's the safest bet. Just stay with yourself, forget about everything and everything else, and stay on your square. But what I did was, at one point, once I got up and I did a couple of things, I went out to the river. And I've always found that, even though I didn't jump in the river, I've just found that if I'm on the beach, in front of the waves, or on the river or next to a stream, there's some kind of exchange taking place. Like, I can feel it. It's almost like standing in front of the Akashic. It's just like there's something that happens. I can't explain it, but it's I guess, like an infinity sign. I'm on one end, the water's on the other, and something happens, and I can just sit there, and I did, a couple hours. I mean, I just sit there and I don't think a lot. And there's something about water.
Yeah, that
So,
helped me last year as well. When I was in Portugal, I was going through a pretty dark night last year, on and off, and a lot of the time, I mean, partly it's delayering. You've just got to delayer the structures, and it comes and comes and comes, and your identities are fighting and all of that stuff. And I would just go onto the cliffs, and I was just sent there. They were sent there for hours and hours on end to watch the sea, and I really resisted it at first. I was getting quite a bit annoyed about it, so I was just like, I want to be on the beach, I want to swim. And it was like, no, you're to sit on the cliffs and look at the ocean. And
yeah,
slowly I surrendered, a bit like a great master. The ocean was this kind of great master
yeah, yeah,
teaching me. And the more my heart opened and the more I surrendered, because this is all about surrender.
yeah.
The rest of it's bollocks. The
That's right.
the
That's
the
exactly right.
surrender to the ocean was so, my God, Plod, it was so deep. I cried so much on those cliffs. I thought the rivers were gonna wash me down some days. And I started to feel, at first I could feel the waves coming in and breaking in. So it was like when I would surf or be in the ocean, I could feel the power of the waves in my legs, and it was like
Yeah,
that, but my heart was feeling it. And then it got wider and wider and wider, because I could always feel the crystal grids, but it went around the world. And it was like when I could see the sea, I could feel all of the oceans. And
yeah,
then I was feeling the universe. And so that
yeah.
was how Soul started to move at that deep level. It's very hard to put into words. We're
Mm-hmm.
trying to bring word process, like you said, it's useless really, to something that's so fundamentally deep
Yeah.
that we want to control it all the time. We want to make something of it. Our brains want to own it and change it, but we can't. We can't. It just keeps coming back and reminding us that there's no structure.
Mm-mm. No, and that's it. It's formless. I mean, it's free flowing, you know, and yeah, I think it's like, if I look at everything that we've all gone through, I'm not, you know, my thing is the as within without. And what you're saying about the water, I think, is really important, because that's the biggest part of it. As within without. So if we're whatever it is, 90% water, then what is the earth? And how much it's like if you think about the water, it's like the basis of the network on this planet. So if you can merge with the water, have communion with the water, you have access to the entire earth, in terms of knowledge, memories, activations, sending out your own heart energy. But it makes a lot of sense that this is coming up now, because if I look at everything we've been through, let's just say 5G, electromagnetic, like you brought up, fluoride, GMOs, chemtrails, we're from our consciousness, we're superseding all this. We're rising above all this. So now you throw the water into it. And what is that telling you? Like how quick, for instance, how quick could we convert all the water in the world? As our consciousness does this elevation and this continued expansion, then I believe the water's doing it with us. It might even be leading us, to be
Yeah,
quite honest
I
with you.
feel like I used to have lots of notions about, what was going on and which galactics were helping us and all that stuff, all the different stories that we can have. We can play in any of them, but this I really feel like Gaia, because all this whole thing for the last few months has just been about connecting really deeply with the
Yeah,
planet, but the planetary body as a living being, as a living
yeah,
vessel within
yeah.
us, within, without, and that what we perceive as the frequencies coming
Mm,
from the galactic realms are really a creation that we're creating in the experience that we're having, and
Yes.
that
Thank you.
earth body is holding us, and we are part of that. We're an integral part. I feel like we are like the neural network of
Yes.
Gaia, like the
Beautiful.
brain, if you
Beautiful.
like, and she's communicating with us on such a deep level. So it's literally like our blood is her blood, our
Yeah.
waters are her waters, and like the aquifers, and no one ever talks about aquifers. They're so fundamental. I mean, they're
Yeah.
absolutely fundamental
Yeah.
to the earth and to our bodies. So I remember, you remember when fracking started?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
was before I was awake. I was crazy mad. Like I was in the
Yeah.
war, like the campaign. Like I was so angry about fracking. I wanted to like chin somebody. It was like that strong was the energy. I
Yeah.
wanted to lie down in the road and say that this wasn't, I was affronted from the earth. And I wouldn't have said I was awake, but that was how moved I was. And now I get it, because that process threatens the aquifers and threatens to poison the aquifers with chemicals that would, be going right deep into the lines of the earth. So
Yeah.
I understand it now from this context, but I also agree that we're evolving, and that the idea of alchemy
Yes.
and alchemizing at a molecular level isn't that really far away, and it's
No.
already actually
I
happening.
think I
We're
think
already beginning to.
I love two things that you said. One, that we are actually the neural network, each one of us. And if you think about, like, as you know, with Morgan's work with zero pointing, I remember talking to me 5 years ago about creating new neural network paths. Okay, so but how do you do that? Because you have these other, you know, these imprints of the old ones, of the ones that came from the imprints of the conditioning and of the realm. And if you think about it, that's exactly, if we're doing that within our own field, if you look at the whole earth as the macro, that's exactly what we're doing. And where does that happen? It happens with the alignment of our free will, you know, our willpower, and and creating and aligning with universal will. I think that's huge. I love that description. And you said you couldn't describe these things, but then I think too with the water. Okay, so this has been in my field for the last month, I guess, and this is just my own experience. Has been about what is quantum. I mean, what you think is what you get. And if you think about the metaphoric aspect of our experience, such as pollution, we'll just say water pollution, that's a program. Even though it has a very physical, kind of, touch to it, or aspect to it, it's still a program. It's no different than something that we can't see with our eyes, or like a power of suggestion or subliminal programming. It's just there. And so if we think it's polluted, if we think those things, that's what it is. And so now I think what you're saying is, you're saying, hey, we can actually shift it from right here. We can
Mm.
actually go out there, have communion with the water. We can connect and merge with the water. And from that point, we can actually get to a higher ground by just getting to the point of what's actually the truth of the water. What is the truth? What is the natural nature of the water? What is the composition of the water? And in essence, what's the composition of us? It's a fantastic point you're
It's
making.
the
And
higher body, Todd. It's like we look at, the way if we look at things, everything's kind of melting away, but let's just say that if we look at higher centers, I'm using that word very loosely, but
yeah,
the higher dimensional centers of our light body, well, Earth's no different, is it? So
no,
they call sort of the collective that I'm sort of embodying, the I'm a Light collective, they call, like, Tara is, I guess, the fifth dimensional earth, but they also have other kind of vessels for even higher dimensional earths, and it just gets more and more pure. Like there's you can't have that pollution because it steps away too much from the state of the flow, and its molecular
Mm-hmm.
molecular spin is so perfect because our bodies have come away from it, but we're going back to it. That's what's happening in
Yeah.
the spin of the particle, like the subatomic particles that make
We're
up our
we're
body.
we're
They're
deep.
changing,
Yeah, we're
they're evolving.
depolluting, right? We're
Yeah, we're
depolluting our.
depolluting. That's why we get sick. That's why, I mean, like
Yeah.
sick in a different way. We're detoxifying, we're
Yeah.
aching, stuff's coming out of us. People, like, you get metal taste as the metal's coming
Yes.
out, and
Yeah.
your wee changes colour. I've
Thank
seen
you. I've been wanting to
my
say that for quite some time, and
yeah,
you
it's
said
I mean,
it.
people literally are getting rid of all kinds of things out of their bodies that
So
it
how
will
does
be
that
a
work?
different conversation.
Yeah. So no, I noticed that. I noticed two things when and it's really every day now, and it has been, I think, since early 2019. Uh, every single day, I can tell when I'm burning, and that's how what I described it as, like burning DNA. I can tell by the dryness of my skin, the dehydration, and the metal taste, and the change in the urine. And so, like, now that you're talking about the water, and I'm thinking to myself, I wonder how that relates, because the water is the vast majority of this composition that's Todd. And am I getting dehydrated because it's purging all that stuff out of there, and along with it is the old molecular structure of the water. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an accelerant as well. So
Mhm.
the water accelerates the process. You need to, in order to bring the frequencies through. Water is like it's saying it's like the lubricant for all of the
Yeah,
frequencies.
yeah,
So it's not just hydrating as like physiologically. Yeah, of course it helps and all that
yeah,
stuff, and it helps with metabolization of things. But it's also acting in an electromagnetic way, in
yeah.
an energetic way, to help us to like recomposite, I think is the word that the diamond light uses. They use all these technical words. I've got no idea what they mean. So it's
Now, are
like
these diamond light
recomposition.
diamond light beings, or is it the code itself? Just
Well, we've had conversations about that. When they first appeared,
yeah, that's right.
when I first encountered them, they appeared as beings because that was how my consciousness could accommodate at the time. That was where I was at. I needed to have that, otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to kind of comprehend it, I guess. So it was beings at first, and the initial encounter where I was stabilized because, I was having seizures, so I couldn't, when I tried to contact them, so they would come to me and I would open, often when I looked at the sun or had sunlight, solar energy would elevate me. And then I would open and I would have for a moment the idea of them looking down on me and going, "Oh, you're here." And then I'd wake up on the floor and I would have just dropped out of this realm, and I'd wake up on the floor, sometimes halfway through the floor, and it felt really weird. I was having a lot of issues, and Yuki helped me with that actually. Yuki
Yeah.
was always here. I stayed with her for a little while, and she helped me with that.
Wow.
So towards the end of that, and Martin as well with breathwork, it was actually one of his sessions where I went stopped breathing for a time, and that was when I reconnected with them properly. And after that, I had no problems. So they were beings to start with,
Yeah.
and
To
how
your
they explain themselves is basically the future present monadic body of
okay.
the wider aspects of human
So we would be like,
composite.
yeah. So it would be like, and again, there's no linear, so it would be like some people, like if I think of Broder Bilal, he
Yeah,
connects to the Altea complex, energy complex. I know I've had a couple come in and tell me we are the mind of whatever, Arcturian, or we are an energy complex, and it is a composition of, I guess, in a way, many souls that had come together, or ascended together, or journeyed together, and then become one mind. Now, I love what you said too. I want to go back to the water, but you said something earlier about how you view the galactic presence now. And if I think about what you're saying with what was light beings are now basically diamond code, and as within without. My question is, what is your perspective, your opinion or your take on, we're on a trip where everything's going away until it's just us, right? And that's how you started the show with, I just find myself in the arms of the universe. Do you think that the higher self, the other essences, any and all things that have been accompanying us and communicating with us, which really are us, do you think they will all go away and it'll just be us?
Yeah,
I do too.
I
I
do.
really do. And I
I,
think that time has come.
it's already happening.
Yeah.
I feel like um, I like many people, we've had these encounters, strong encounters with various aspects. Like it was individual. I had a very strong encounter with Jesus this week, but I knew it was my creation. So I'm
Yes.
having a conversation on that basis, saying, I know you're my creation, and I'm
Yeah.
talking with the universal field.
Yeah.
And it just felt beautiful, and it took me deeper into love. But beyond that, most of those aspects have gone now, and
Yeah.
certainly the collective is just knowing. So yesterday, I brought through a transmission yesterday. Instead of us going live, I went live, and I was just talking, like I'm talking with my voice, and I
Mm-hmm.
know it's the collective within me
Yes.
as the field, and it's becoming less and less separate. It's like I am
Yeah.
the field, I am the diamond light. That diamond light is us, it's all of us, it's not me. I struggle with terminology a
Yeah.
lot, but basically, yes, all guides
That's
are
and
going.
that's interesting too, because I'd been thinking about this not, I hadn't posed the question that I posed to you to myself, but I was headed like that I was in that field. I was in that energy field. So when I was telling you I went to the river, so when I went to the river, first of all, I've been there once before to this particular spot 4 years ago, and I had some things like that happen, spaceship, I mean, all kinds of stuff. And again, now I'm in a different perspective. So when I went to the river, I sat down on this log and I said, okay, man, I need some help here. And it was like I was looking all up in here, right, for Merlin or for whatever to come through. And then I look at the water, and that's when I got it. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It's just me. This is all me. And how much closer can you get to me than what's physically in my circle of my field right here? And so that's when I hit the water, and then it just started. And to be honest with you, and I didn't remember this until now, there there was a I guess there was a what I was seeing was geometry and what looked like light language. Just, how like there's a shimmering on the
Mm.
water,
Yes,
and
I know
I'm
what you're
looking at
saying.
it and I'm going, okay, don't even judge it. Don't just look at it. And again, there was no conversation like you have in a download. You know what I mean? Like some people have.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
very
you're
cool.
going to geometric. So if I sort of slip from human speak more into
Mm-hmm.
universal speak, you're slipping into data streaming. So I know we've got the physical overlay. So we've got a
Yeah.
normal what appears to be the world, but my increasing stream is more, it's vibrational,
Yeah.
and I guess
Yeah.
I'm past it. There is geometric construction, but it's more like sound and color,
Yes.
and that's where the coding's changed significantly with what I'm producing, is to
Yeah.
significantly change because of that. So I
I just
feel
I I
we're
just
in
want
this
to say
fractal
that with
space.
that what you just said, and I'm always watch the numbers now. With what you just said, is when you finished it before I interrupted, we hit 144 people in that
Oh,
moment.
it's so,
So
and yesterday I was on about the transmission. So it was probably the strongest transmission I've ever bought. It was so fluid and beautiful, and the language. I watched it back this morning,
hmm,
and the language was just lovely. And there was 44 people on that
there you go.
throughout. So
There you
the
go.
universe it just is seamless. When you go into
Hmm,
flow, it's seamless. There's no effort required,
yeah.
and it's just surrender. I mean, I basically spent, I'm 49, I spent 48 and a half years fighting. the surrender, and then eventually went, and now it's easy. I mean, the experiences are strong still, but there's no resistance to them anymore.
Well,
That's the
and
difference.
I love that. I love the two words seamless. Okay, so seamless to me, we talk about flow. You got to be in the flow, but seamless is not like that. Seamless is just kind of like what I was talking about with the river yesterday. You don't try to understand. It's right there. It's right there in front of you. It's been right there the whole time. And then surrender. So surrender's been a big word, and it's been coming into my field. And I try to put together this meme, and it would be like, okay, uh, in every moment, there's no other choice, right? You just surrender to love. What in love, of course, being much bigger than the human, and so as a result, I'm not there, but I'm finding my way towards loving surrender, loving to surrender. Because I'm surrendering to love, so it's like backwards. And what I realized about the surrender thing, energetically speaking and otherwise, there's a difference between, like, if you're in a battle, or whatever, and you were familiar with the term surrender, and you surrender and you stay, right? Well,
Yeah, that's the distortion
running,
that
versus
stops us
running
from
away, right?
surrendering.
So
Yeah, that stops us
if
from
you run
surrendering.
away, that's obviously not surrender. Surrender is not really, well, it is giving up, isn't it? It's giving in. It's saying, and of course, in this context,
But you're
it's
only giving up to yourself,
true.
as all as the all,
Yeah.
because you just keep meeting yourself again and again and again, and you'll keep meeting yourself in one story or another, and one fight or another, and one convolution or another, and one story or loop or another, until you give it up.
Yeah.
And then it becomes more, it just is like, oh, I can't even find the word. I think that's what grace is when it starts to come and
Yeah.
unfold, is you just get really, we have to love ourselves at the deepest level, because when we do it
Yeah.
all starts reflecting out. And the love and compassion for everybody, then even you see stuff, you're triggered, so so
Mm.
Morgan's an expert in zero pointing to collapse the polarity when it
Yeah.
comes. You know what you're running, so you
Yes.
have to just go and find it, like, and get it, and zero point it into the neutrality, into the neutral space.
Yeah.
And that's what we are. I don't know what I mean, nobody knows. We're going into unknown. We don't know any of this.
That's right.
There's nothing left. There's no manual. There's no one's written a book. It just is this. It's the unknowing of coming back to ourselves. And I just think it's going to be a lot more fun, because
Absolutely. And that's
we
interesting too.
actually get to live then. It's
You
like
know,
coming alive. Like, we've been dead pretty much,
yes. Yes.
and now we're coming alive.
I firmly believe that whatever's going to happen, and I mean, I would say even as soon as today and tomorrow and a month from now, is going to be far beyond anything we can imagine if we can just surrender and not run. And you know what I mean? Because when we turn away, if I turn away from you, I'm turning away from myself. And it's interesting you brought up the the zero pointing, or the Trinity. So last night when I laid down, and I connected for a couple of hours by myself, and I was just there, and I saw this huge, tall, elongated triangle. And I was in one corner, and I looked over here, third eye, and Morgan was over here, and the universe was represented at the top. And I heard, like, it was like, okay, how much do you love her? And I said, well, I love her as I love myself. And this is just my own little thing that I was going through. And then I heard, okay, so how much do you love the universe? Do you love the universe as you love yourself? And I've gone, like all of us, I've gone through a lot of conversations and dialogue, communion meditations, but really for the first time, and it was very subtle. It was very subtle. And I said, you know what? Yes, I do. And I saw my face, like, in my right here. And then it went further to, like, okay, now this is the power of the Trinity. Okay, now you can carry this energy and you can put over on the other side over here anyone else. And so then I started pulling people in and putting them in that spot she was in. And I was like, wow, and these were people that I might have had, issues with, that I've been working on myself and trying to see myself in them. So, yeah. And I think yesterday was a very, very powerful for everybody. I think it was I'm sure it was trying on everybody, Martin's description, you're in the bathtub, other people are saying stuff here. But one thing I'm really picking up on now, and I think everybody is when we go through these little periods, these little mini MINI nights of the soul, dark nights of the soul, there's a huge expansion right afterward.
Yeah, it's rapid, isn't it? It's like we're doing what might have taken us a year or 6 months takes us a day.
Yes.
Or even an hour. And the time just is, I mean, it's such a construction of man. Time, linear time that's what I was going to try and say before about the fractalization. So the fractalization is just like everything's kind of recreated again and again and again, like smaller and smaller and smaller, so micro. And I've always kind of known this from when I was a very little girl. And I kind of looked at a desk in a science lesson and it was all vibrating, and I kind of like started to get that nothing was solid really early on. But our brains fill so much in, it kind of takes what we get, chucks 95 or more % of it away in a bin, and then it makes up the 95% how it wants. And I feel what's happening is at a deep level, because that's really where sort of from the Arcturian point of view, my understanding that we are actually not chucking that away now. We're having more and more of that input as purity, and less of the illusionary thing that we've been doing, which is what all the identity constructs do.
I hadn't seen anything from Jason Estes in a while, because I don't really seek that much. I just share to the group, quickly every day. And but I I scanned one yesterday that he put out, and he speaks in a different language. So, but what I got out of it was something that people have been talking about. And I think it's related to what you're talking about. And what that is, it's the 3D memory bank. Like, I'm so many people, even the last few days, I'm like, man, I'm sorry. I can't think, was it yesterday? Was it a week ago? And people were saying, hey, man, it's going away because we don't need it anymore. And then I started thinking about it. I thought, wait a minute. So it's almost like a computer. So in a computer, you have a hard drive, and then you have RAM. And the RAM is the memory that you use basically in the present as you're working, right? It's two different things. And it's almost like our hard drive is going away. In other words, that's where that 95% is, like
It's a totally different way of being, because I'm writing my book now. I mean, I'm well into it.
Oh, wow.
And trying to describe the process of what happens in your awareness as you defrag. It's literally like defragmenting. Is to have this. I can't describe to you my awareness, Todd, because it doesn't translate easily into words. But it's like I'm sitting here with you and we're having a conversation, but we're sitting in many places having many conversations. And I know my mouth is speaking and you're there, but I can feel lots of different other places and spaces as well. And they're all the same and they're all at once. And I get pictures and images and communications simultaneously all the time, and that's what we do. What soul mirroring is just natural. It's not a special gift. It's just how we actually really are. I feel all of this communication, everything, coding, anything that I've experienced is normal. It's the norm, and everything that's been before was like a different program that we kind of agreed to have the experience of, so we would understand maybe the difference. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what I agreed to. I've been back and had experiences, but the truth is, there is no truth, and we'll never know exactly what we did agree to.
Yeah.
It's
True.
impossible. And we don't know what God is, and we don't know what source is.
Mm-mm.
It just keeps unfolding more and more. I don't know what love is because it just keeps unfolding more and more. Um, my body feels totally unexplored again. I thought I was connected, and now I realise there's probably just the tip that we're on right
Yeah,
now.
I think
And we're
so.
just moving into
Yeah.
something which is truly beautiful. And yes, the world, we look out the window and we're like, oh my God, the world is fucked. Like Christ,
Yeah,
when I see what's coming, I mean, obviously people come to me with all kinds of serious issues and complex
yeah,
issues.
yeah,
So, AI is featuring heavily on some of those issues, and there's lots of things, and reality is kind of collapsing in on each other. But then I'm just constantly reminded of, yes, if that charge is playing out, if that data stream is coming in, if that story is there for you to play out, then you're playing that out and it's real. We create reality.
yeah,
But you just keep meeting yourself as love again and again and again, and it just
yeah,
reminds you that that is just a program. It's just a
yeah,
hologram. It's a holographic projection that we
yeah.
experience as real. And I know because I used to create all kinds of shit coming in my
We all
space.
did, but and I
It
love what you
was
said. I love what you
serious.
said. I love what you said too about the you don't know what love is because it just keeps getting deeper. And the
Yeah.
same, and so it's like one direction, it keeps elevating. The other direction, it's like I didn't know what healing was, or forgiveness, or judgment, or projection. They kept getting deeper and deeper and
Yeah.
keep getting into, because they're getting ripped off. It's like there's nowhere to stand. The floor is gone. And each time you get to another point, and it goes back to, I think, to, for me, belief. So there's belief as in programming, and then there's belief kind of knowing, right?
Yeah.
I can't explain it. That one I can't explain. There's no word for it. Just like there's no word for love, but there is something that keeps becoming more and more unveiled within me that is very delicate, and it's beliefs, and beliefs that have a lot of passion and emotion, and so they are quite tumultuous as they purge. but I think we're doing a great job. I believe we're doing an incredible job. If I look at, you know 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where we were all at, I mean, look at the transformation you went through from the middle of last year. uh it's just amazing. It's like the more we find our divine human, the more we see the God in that field, the goddess, the God, the universe.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's
deep. It's so deep, isn't it? I think I was going to ask you. I sort of asked the other way round. I was like, ask
okay.
you.
That's what.
Um, there's some of when you say about the extremes that interests me because every time what's happened with me is every time I've opened to love and I've gone up, it's actually gone down and it's gone into the basement, and I've just been like, holy cow, was
Mhm.
that really part of me? And it's like, yeah, it really was part of me and it really is part of me. And some of the stuff has been, especially around judgment and
Yeah,
revenge energy has been that's something that's been very strong
yeah,
recently, is revenge energy and things that I hadn't really maybe even considered has come up for
yeah.
servicing. It's all to do with relationships, with everything, relationships with, yeah, everything.
Well,
And
yeah, go ahead.
deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah, what one of the things that and of course I think I'm not different than most all of us. And so even going back through my whole life, but certainly after I woke up in 2011, there's been an ongoing constant communion. It's rarely, no matter what I'm doing, it's always playing out. And then of course I meet someone who's basically specialty, at a shamanic level of the zero point polarities. And that was a very interesting, part of my journey when it was say one of the primary forces. Then as we continue to elevate and expand, but these things never go away. And what I started to understand was you can take any scenario you want. We're in the Trinity, we're in the Triad. So there we go back with the, if one polarity dominates, then you're in the separation. Even if you look at the human term of love, and over here is the human term of separation, that's a very fine line. That 0 point is a very fine line. So you and look at 1/3 of crimes are crimes of passion. What's the old saying? The road to hell's paved with good intentions. And I remember I was shown 11 years ago, just like the screen, I was shown the heart. And there was a line in the middle, and the ego was on one side and the soul was the other. And they were just basically showing me that's how close this is. And I think, if you turn that around, and instead of a narrow little line, that you turn it around and it's a huge potential for expansion to widen that area. But again, going back to what you're saying, yeah, these things that are presented, you can't, I can't argue anymore. I just surrender. I don't even have to know. I don't have to have all the details. I'm just like, okay, you know what? I just need to quit fighting this, and boom. And that's where I get a lot of moments like the river, or just, and it can happen to your point earlier too, about how quick we can process. It can happen if I take a walk. It can just, and I can't even explain it. It's not like a process. It's just like a state of being and awareness and oneness.
It's a big one, that is, isn't it? I'm getting loads and loads of downloads while you're talking. It's just like, whoa,
No, I
I was
keep
a bit worried
seeing.
I was going to zone there, and I go, whoa.
Go ahead and zone. Do it on the camera. Absolutely.
There was just a couple of, that thing about that, that is divine human. Divine human is that it's there all the time. That whole idea that we would spend hours doing yoga and meditation, and we have to live on this very strict diet and sit on a hill and isolate. That is, I feel, a myth that we've brought into over time. It's probably sticking my neck out here. It's the same as when I did Christ consciousness about the Jesus and Mary paradox.
But you're right.
It's just sitting it out there to say that yes, they're important. They're all important, and understanding how energy moves through us. But when we're more embodied, we perhaps don't need that construct anymore. It's helpful in the beginning, like lots of things are. But when we are more functional with light, then that moves all the time. So we just walk, I walk in nature, and like you, I'm charged by looking at a leaf. I mean, I just get like electromagnetically charged from looking at nature and looking at the water, or noticing how light moves off a flower, or listening to a bird, looking at another human. It's simple, really.
Well, and to your point too, I think obviously certain things serve us until we get to a certain point, and then to get to the next threshold, those things no longer serve you. And I think we've been in that kind of space this whole year, because it is moving so fast. 2020, with the vision thing, and I mean, just it's moving so fast. So like if you look at, for instance, like what you said about yoga, or even eating habits, here we go with the potential of a polarity in our own field dominating the other polarity, which means we're not in that zero field. And so we're really being asked some hard questions here. And we're not only that, but we're being asked to apply it to our moment by moment existence, which, when you really get down to it, is Susanne, whatever you do, enjoy yourself. Todd, everybody else, and let that stream of experience and consciousness flow without any type of impediment. And I will do the same. And that's really where we're at. It's like, I know it sounds cliche, live and let live or let it be, but I mean, that's really what it is. And that's why I put up a post today, as I said at the top of the show, because I put up, and I don't usually counter anybody. I get some comments that are, kind of combative or whatever. And I don't answer them. I don't even answer the good ones. But somebody said something and and it was talking about somebody who made a comment. And I thought, wow, why does that need to be said? Why can't that just be allowed? Why can't that just be the way it is? And I was a little fiery, and I said, these three things can kiss my soul's immaculate ass. Thank you for your service, but out with the old, in with the new. And so I didn't mean it really from a bad place. It was my own, and I think that's what like you said, we are, not to diminish in any way, fractals. And like you said, if you run from one, you're running from yourself. If you divorce yourself from anything, you're divorcing yourself from you. And like you said, the loops will come back.
Yeah.
The events
It'll
will
just
come
keep
back.
coming back in one way or another, and then blindsiding you in that creation. So it's better, from my point of view, I got to that stage where when I got that, I was just like, right, well, universe, here I am.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's actually get with it. And I had to eat some, big humble pie
Yeah. Hey, if you're not
about
eating
some of
humble
the things
pie,
I've been doing.
yeah, if you're not eating humble pie, I mean, I'm telling you right now, if you're walking on water and everything's fine and you're like Snow White walking through the forest and and everything, but no, that's where we come from.
Yeah.
That's what we know. We actually came down here to get some contrast, and by virtue of the contrast, we're having an expansion of where we came from. I mean, that will be a bigger field. But yeah, the humble pie thing, I mean, one, you become aware, right? Like you said, and you said to yourself, oh, was that part of me? And they're like, yes, that was part of you. So you become aware. And then the second thing is the admission. It's almost like, and I really don't want to use this example, but like confession, the confession booth when I was a kid. Even though that was a part of the apparatus of the matrix and all that, there's something about being in a space with the universe and admission. I have done this. I was that. There's something about that release. And I think when we do that for ourselves, obviously it's huge. When we can start to do it with others, like proclaim it and declare it, that's, first of all, that's very ballsy. And second of all, I think it's a very powerful contribution to the collective expansion.
Yeah, being able to receive it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
both ends.
Yes.
To receive it
Yeah.
and go very deep with these things and
Yeah.
just be open. It's about communication, that is, isn't it? We're just opening with the field and saying I'm responsible for my
Yeah.
experience, and I've been having these experiences and these thoughts, and then working it out. You become your own kind of counselor, and it gets like, life just gets better because you understand the nature of the fabrication of what's going on, and then you let go of that, and then you're meeting the surrender and
Yeah.
moving into everything we don't know. And there's more of that coming, I think, as there's less material.
The
Is it?
surrender.
I don't know. I'm just sort of going here with you.
No,
There's
no, I
less
think you're right. Yeah.
material in that triangle. So if the polarities pull us, because those are the libraries, aren't they, and the
Yeah.
stories, and it can pull us into divinity, into
Yeah.
the what I call the Jesus Mary paradox of going out into light and staying there, or it could take us into the endless dark night of the soul. I'm bad, I'm corrupted, and all the bits in between. But there's less material pulling you in the end.
Yeah.
There's less traction there.
Yeah.
So it's, by and large, we're going more into the 0 point
Yeah.
and less out in the ether. So we carry that in ourselves. I don't feel like we're going to dematerialize yet. I think our bodies have got some way to go with with the planetary
Yeah.
body. We're all linked together, so it'll be when Earth moves. So while we're in this form, we're subject to the material, the atomic structures. So that keeps us having we can have an interaction. We're here to have interactions, and what isn't that just beautiful
Yeah,
that we can
I
do
think
that?
so. Yeah, and
I think it is, yeah.
there's always been a lot of talk about the cyclical nature, at least, you know, that's within, evidence of oral histories and written histories, which I'm talking about, like for things like 26,000 year cycle or a 3,600 year cycle, and I've always, I guess, innately understood that it is that way. It's concentric circles and it's cycles and all that. And to me, there's I don't know, as the days have gone by, very recently, an understanding that we are at a new end, new begin, at the same time, uh, kind of like the end of a cycle of cycles, like a big, big
Big one.
circle, but made up of little cycles. And we're coming right to the edge. And like that makes it easier for me to surrender. Like, like whatever I think I might be missing, whatever I think I might be giving up, it's helping me to incorporate into my field that not just words, I'm actually not losing anything. In fact, what I think is that I'm losing in reality is far beyond my imagination as to what it really is. So if it is love, what I think I'm losing there, that part of me that, oh, was that me that you were talking about? It's something so huge that it would fry our brain,
Yeah.
our reality
Big.
at this
It's
point.
big. I had it with relationships because I know I'm not in a relationship at the moment, and I kind of go through phases of like, oh, like I really wish I had someone to share this with, and I go in the little mind, like it'd be really nice, and then how am I ever going to meet anybody? I mean, loads of us do this, and I had to like really look at this very deeply about the relationship with the self, that
Mm,
that everyone's a reflection, like
yeah.
everything. Like the more you can release into that. I was chatting to Robin Cabral for ages
Hmm.
yesterday about this release of attachment and like an almost like a subconscious entrapment that we can go into with other people.
Yes.
Um,
That's a big one.
and we're not necessarily aware of it. I don't mean that we entrain without knowing, because there are these aspects of us that are still seeking and searching. It's
Yeah.
all about the seeking and the searching, and not really satisfied with what is there, but we can't see it. And the surrender is only to what is already there. It's not. There is nothing that is not there. It's just that we don't see it because we've got so much baggage in front of it
Yeah.
and so much construction. So I feel like like when we do that stuff, it feels like we're creating little wormholes. So they're like little structures, and it's so strong. That love is so strong. It only needs a little wormhole. It
Hmm.
only needs a little touch, and it's,
Yeah. That's a really good point. That's a really good point because the human's front and center, and we're getting to the point now where we understand this isn't just physical. This is I'm divine human, right? So there's an evolution happening, and these things that we're being faced with to let go of. There are no exceptions, you know. And like you were talking about earlier, revenge or spite, or we don't want to let go of these. What would you call them? I mean, we might call them from a personal level, traumas, or offenses. You stepped on my toes, or whatever the case is. But we're this is like, to me, a great sign, because I'm seeing a lot of this stuff purge out, come to the surface. And of course, you can see the reflection of it on the global stage. That's the only thing I look at. I don't look at the story of, oh my God, the Qs and the Trumps and all that. I look at what's being presented as a gauge of, what's happening collectively, on
absolutely.
average from within us all. So, you know, it's I'm absolutely, and we talked about, what yesterday was like. what everybody's experienced, what you experienced. Then you get up, which is normally what I would do. Normally, no matter what happens, and it happens all the time, I know, get in the chair, turn on the camera, because the minute you do that, it's like being at the river. All that other stuff just goes away. And now I'm talking to Susanne, and this is how the magic happens, like with what happened with you yesterday. But even given all the discomforts and the ups and downs and fluctuations, my heart has expanded tremendously in the last few days. And I got to believe, from what I've read and seen, that it's happened to many, many people. And I don't think we're quite aware, because we haven't integrated it. Like you said about the defragging, and Morgan talks about it takes 4 or 5 days for us to land after a huge, but I think there's been a huge activation with this culminating on July 22nd.
I think it's only just starting, actually.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah, I
thing.
think what we've got is the opening of potentially. I think there's a few more year cycles,
Mhm.
but it's definitely going to be the strongest. We're opening towards the conjunction of the Lions Gate
Yeah.
and
Yes, that's
opening that
right.
portal. Now, the portal opened on
Yeah.
I think it was 22nd. It opens. I felt it go actually 2 days before, like ramping up, and it's extremely strong. So I actually feel what we're actually entering is the very, very beginnings of something extremely
I wouldn't doubt it. And
strong.
that's the other thing about what's been happening. I don't know how far we go back with this, but certainly 2019, from day one, 2019 to in 2020, every time we get to a spot, you can pick any spot on the timeline after, let's say, post expansion, and go, this isn't even, like, we're just putting our little toe in the water, like we're just getting into this. And then you bring up it might take a few years. On one hand, the old part of me that's gone away would have said, man, I want to get this over with. I'm tired. But now I get tingles, and up my back and on my head as I hear that or think about it, because I think, wow, where were you guys 2-3 years ago? So
Yeah.
whatever's coming, there's going to be a parallel between what's revealed in your own skills and abilities, and proportionate to what's occurred, to include the conversion of the carbon-based body to the light body, which is just a metaphorical description of everything that
It
we're
is
talking about.
definitely coming because the things that I've only got what my experience is. So obviously, I mean, I'm sort of more unusual, I guess, than a lot of people just because of the nature of what I'm bringing through. But I feel, because the codes, I am the codes. The
Yeah,
codes are not, they're not just like these inventions that appear on a shelf. They come and I am them. So I become the technology. I become the light body of
yeah,
that code in order to bring it through. It's
yeah,
part of me, and there's so many codes now. They're all me, and if
yeah,
that's me, that's everybody.
yeah,
And everything that we shift, it's not like we're separate. It's that thing, we think we're somehow separate from the whole of the universe, but we're really not separate from anything. The whole universe moves with us. Everything in creation moves with us. It's simultaneously adjusting all the time, and we can't comprehend it, so we can just simplify it
yeah,
and say that's what flow is. That's what it is. It just is this dance
yeah,
that we are. But I feel we're going to, the ones which are maybe bringing through whatever this is, the new earth is more of a crystalline earth, an
yeah,
energetic earth. Now I remember that. That's sort of more my home territory.
yeah,
It feels more normal. So maybe we just step more into that, because that's going to help us accelerate. We act like catalysts, don't we? So if I remember, you remember, whoever else works with me, they're all getting it.
yeah.
It's like we move each other and we're acting like we're like the virus, we're just like
That's right.
literally seeding, and it's constant. It's not just like we do it and then it's linear. We're all in constant motion as a soul
Yeah,
collective,
yeah,
amplifying each other informing each other in ways we can't imagine. So I think it's very exciting. Very,
Yeah, I do
very
too.
exciting.
You're wearing a blue head wrap, and I'm just like, not because of that, but I have been seeing blue, like similar to that color that you have on your head the whole time we're talking. Like it's just everywhere. I don't know what that is, but it feels good. And why don't you hang on a second? Let's sign off. Do you want to do anything before we get off? Did you want to do any transmissions or anything?
We can do.
It's
We
up to
like
you.
just to
Whatever.
wrap it up. I wanted to show you the code again
Yeah, yeah.
to people that are viewing because it's underlying and it is available. It's available on my page, but
Do you have it? Do you want me to pull your page up, or do you have it in your hand?
I think I probably got it here.
Okay.
I'm just going to share it there.
There you go. Yeah.
So this is our this is the code that this is the code that we sort of talked about a little bit
Yeah, yeah.
just
That's
before, and
amazing.
you were saying you can just you can feel universes in it, and this was like like a starter code. I did this the other one, the Sword of Unity. This is like the next level, if you like,
Hmm.
to enter into this water, whatever the thing is with water, which I don't know yet. These are like a new type of technology or not a new wave of bringing through the information. So for this is a temple. This creates a temple space, and within that temple space, it's like that wheel would be horizontal, but it's third dimensional. So it's like creating a moving structure that would be more like spherical.
Yeah.
It's moving. It's just a representation. So these things aren't flat. We're just seeing them in 2D, but that's how they work with us, and it's just to start this process off. So it's been winding through us all the way time we've been speaking. Magenda estarama okashinaya. Merita kashan yim uriala surya laktiena mientara hiete. Shakture le kunye mahendra eshkanaha. Meli ispre la hale ushkea mahriena. Maheta shari urka. Mun erumiana hatera. Ek ishta el uyano rimbra sen hashalea. Marina osheria okashanera. Ere eka she ikun hare entara. Mak ele eshnia. Machturen lela shelin brachtera mun erika shea mara kuyana little sena la. It's like moving through the end. It's like the infinite tides of time we move here. So this is the language is really the base structure of the universe. We would equate it towards like Elium or maybe into very, very ancient
Yeah.
structures, but really it's just the basal structure of toning or a tonal language.
I think I'm levitating over here.
Mujer la Sharia. Well, this does, the language has the ability to assist people to transcend consciousness. And that's we can't talk about that because we'll run out of time, but that's early on. I didn't know that's what I was doing. And I was so afraid of it, so afraid of this language, terrified of it. But this is it. All it is pure essence. You see, it's
Yeah, no,
just
I can
pure
feel it.
essence.
I can feel it and see
Yeah.
it, and even the multidimensional part of it, like you said, the sphere. Before you even said it, that's an amazing image. That really is. That's an amazing image.
Yeah,
And
I've got to pray now.
wow, I don't even know what to say about it. This is a great. So yeah, why don't you hang on? Let's sign off and hang on for a second. I want to talk to you if you don't mind. Do you have a second?
That's okay. Just want to say thank you.
Yes.
Just say thank you to everybody who is tuning in. Thank you. I did put a shout out on my page with a link for Soulology. And if you feel like you've benefited from this transmission and you feel like you can pay it forward, please pay it forward to Todd and his work in the studios
Thank you.
to help continue the work.
That's
I
nice
really
of you.
appreciate it. Just for my my family, because they're so beautiful. They're just they're just beings of love.
Yeah.
They're just beings of love.
Thank you. Thank
All
you
of
very
them.
much for that. Okay, so hopefully I'm going to hit Susanne up and see if she wants to come on in a couple of weeks. I just tell everybody up front.
Thank you.
I feel like this continuity here, and I just want to say too, I'm not trying to blow smoke up, but watching, and we talked about this last time, but knowing you a year, is it 2 years or I don't even know, when was it, a year and a half ago, whatever, you were doing amazing work back then. You were doing stuff. You when you came out, you were very bold, in a, you know what I mean, in a soft way. You were soft, but you were bold. But to watch what's happened to you and people like you, who've had the courage to get out there and really put themselves out there, and then to speak openly and honestly, and just the evidence is in your energy. To me, that's what you were talking about earlier. This is how we're disseminating the code to each other through so many different ways that we really can't see. And I think you're doing that. And I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
So
Thanks.
we'll be back in 40 minutes with Don Parkinson, your friend.
Don Parkinson, he's the godfather.
Yeah, the Godfather.
Yeah, he's normally I'm due in 10 minutes to open Light Language Lounge,
Okay.
and Don's normally holding the back end space and the universal space in my group, so you'll have fun with him.
We should talk. Oh, we'll talk here. Let's talk in a second. All right. So we'll see everybody in a little bit. Thank you for coming
Take
in.
care, everyone. Thank you.
Oh, wait. Let me just, what am I doing? Oh, I need to sign off. I was about